Alright guys, buckle up because we're about to go deep. Who is Arkraptor's daughter? It's a question that Tower of God fans have been asking for generations, bro. This is one of the biggest mysteries in the entire series, and I'm so excited to talk about it because I've done some research, and I think I may have an answer. Now keep in mind this is a theory, and like any theory, there are some issues with it, so who knows if this is actually true, but I think it would be excellent and really cool if it was, so keep that in mind as you watch, and if you have another theory about who Arkraptor's daughter is, I'd love to hear it in the comments. So let's start at the very beginning here. When we first meet Arkraptor, we find out he had a daughter. Hor-Yang is able to get that information out of him, and he says, yes, I did have a daughter. And we also find out when Arkraptor, spoilers, dies, that his wife was a member of the 10 Great Families. She was an important individual, and yet they still got married despite all of that, and had a daughter. However, we do know from a couple of panels, and from Arkraptor talking about it, that his daughter and wife were taken from him. At first, it was a mystery, like why were they taken from him? But now it's a little more clear they were from one of the families. So clearly they didn't like Arkraptor, they didn't approve of the relationship, but I think there's more to it. But first, let's get this out of the way. Michael, Apple, and that mysterious individual. For the longest time, well, for a few chapters, we were wondering, who is this person? We had no idea who it was. We saw them doing a couple of things, but nothing much to give us a clue as to who their identity was. However, when Michael, Apple, and this individual are leaving, we get this panel where we see an earring. Now, for a lot of people, this plot point was forgotten, but when Arkraptor is dying, we get a flashback of Arkraptor talking to Wangnan. In this flashback, he specifically points to his earring, which he's had for ever since we've known him, and says that this earring is his only clue to find his daughter, because this is his wedding ring, essentially. Him and his wife both had these rings, and he thinks that his wife would have given this ring to his daughter. So if he can find somebody with a similar ring, then he can find his daughter. Well, guess what? This individual had an earring, and not only was it shown to the panel deliberately by SIU, it is the exact same design. Obviously, the only difference is that Arkraptor's earring is gold, while the other earring is silver, but this makes sense, it's to differentiate between the two rings. Most rings are different with a husband and wife, so I think that totally makes sense. It's literally the same design, and I think this is very clear. This is making it almost 100% clear that this is Arkraptor's daughter. Now, it's not like the video's over or anything, like this is common knowledge that this is most likely Arkraptor's daughter, but it doesn't answer who is she? Like, who is she? Why is she working with Fug if she's from one of the families, and what's going on? Do we know her name? Like, have we heard of this individual before? And that's what I want to get to. SIU has set this up, this plot point, for a long time. It's one of his longest running plot threads that connect to other things, and it's not something that's constantly brought up, but the whole Arkraptor's daughter thing has been around for a while, which is why I think it's okay for SIU to take his time, and I think it just adds to the mystery. So let's get into this. So, first of all, why would the 10 families be so adamant about bringing in his wife and daughter? Now, you could say, well, because they're obviously from one of the families, and whatever, they don't want them to be with Arkraptor, maybe, or whatever. You could feel, there's a lot of examples. Maybe they're disgracing the family by being with him, or just disgracing the family by marrying someone of their choice. We don't know the family, so it's hard to tell, but obviously the families went to a great effort in bringing them back. We see soldiers dragging them away, and they're very, it's clear that this is a big deal to them. But why is it a big deal? We know that there are people who are abandoned by the families all the time. It's not like the families care about them, what is it about these two, the mother and the daughter, that's so special? Angel, for example, is a child of one of the families. Her mother wasn't, but her father was. And maybe you could argue her father didn't know she existed or something, but there are children all the time who are from an offshoot branch or something that the family doesn't care about, like Inyeta even. So this tells me that Arkraptor's wife was most likely from the main family, like a direct descendant, and that makes her daughter from the main family. This would explain why it's such a big deal to bring her back. Maybe she has a lot of potential. Maybe she's really strong or can become really strong. Maybe politically, she's going to be very important to the family. Okay, so from one of the families, is a female, has a lot of potential, or from what we can tell, is clearly important to the family, can possibly be used politically. What fills that blank? Jihad princess! I don't understand why the family would go to so much effort to secure this girl and her mother if she wasn't from the main family, had a lot of potential, and they wanted to use her. We know the families are so corrupt, so why and how would they use her? I think to become a Jihad princess is the only real explanation that makes sense. Now, I've heard some people say, but Arkraptor's too weak. You know, he's the father, and how could he father a Jihad princess? First of all, rude. Arcraptor had a lot of potential. I think if he had kept growing, he could have gotten even stronger, so how dare you? And second of all, I don't think that really matters. May I remind you, Anok's father was a chef of the castle. He was a chicken pie cook. Anok's mother was a Jihad princess, and her father was a chicken pie cook. And yet Anok was born very strong. I mean, like, the strongest regular aside from Endorsi in season 1. So I don't think that argument makes a lot of sense. I mean, like, honestly, we see this family cares a lot about bringing her back, so she clearly does, she has value to them. And if it's not strength, I don't really see what else she could do for them. So just keep that in mind. There are people who have blood of someone really strong and then blood of someone not very strong, and it doesn't really matter. You don't need to have two fantastically strong parents. Okay, so let's move forward assuming that this all could be true. So if this was true, which family would she be from? Well, honestly, the only one that makes sense can be guessed by looking at her hair color. Arkraptor's hair color is silver. His daughter's hair color is white. Pure white. It's not silver, it's white. And if you look at her hair compared to other members of the REA family, it looks extremely similar. I think she could be from the REA family. Now, I don't have more to go off of here. It's not like I have other real evidence to bring in that she's from the REA family, aside from the fact that I can see the REA family doing this. There are a lot of kids that Joaquin grew up with, for example, that he trained with and all over the place, to the point where even his own father didn't know his children's names. He had to ask Joaquin, what's your name? And even then, like, they went to an extra effort to bring her in, which means I could see her not just being one of the regular kids, but maybe even being, again, potential Jihad princess. Okay, well, if only there was an individual that we knew of that was from the REA family, was a regular and a princess of Jihad, and was female. Well, I guess being a princess of Jihad sort of answers that. If only there was a character who fit that description. That would be pretty great, huh? There is. Aryeh Rose Jihad is somebody that has been mentioned only briefly in Tower of God, I think by Shibisu and it was during the whole Lilial and Shilial princess thing. There's a whole princess scandal going on where they're like taking sides and Maria even is involved. And Aryeh Rose Jihad is mentioned there as a regular princess who other princesses typically like side with or something like that. I don't think that really matters as much. She's mentioned as a regular princess. So there is a regular who is a princess from the REA family. They all fit for Arkraptor's daughter. Now, my only problem with this theory would mean that Arkraptor's daughter has been a princess for a long time. We don't know how long ago she was taken, but I assume it takes a while to train to become a princess. You can't just be like, oh, you, boom, you're a princess now. Like, even Endorsi had to go through a lot to become a princess, and Endorsi's like 300. So, I don't know, we don't know how long ago his daughter was taken, so that's like my only thing about her being Aryeh Rose Jihad, is that Aryeh Rose has probably been around for a decent amount of time, but who knows, I don't think that necessarily puts the nail in the coffin. Like, I don't know if that really matters. There's also Hendollak Gladmary Jihad, who is also a regular princess, but I don't think it could be her because she's like an adopted member of the Hendollak family because of the whole Hendollak curse thing. And Arkraptor's daughter is somebody who was like, it's implied that she's directly related because otherwise, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. Unless Hendollak Gladmary Jihad is a rare, true descendant of Hendollak blood matter. You know, he typically adopts his children, but maybe that's why they all went after her and she was so important to them, despite the fact that she has like a weak father. The other thing that doesn't really make sense about this theory is that if she is a Jihad princess, why on earth is she with Fug? She's with Apple and Michael, like what is she doing with them? And I think obviously she must have been tainted by the family. You know, they probably taught her a lot of bad things, and she's probably not a pure-hearted individual like Arkraptor. I still think she can become one, but my guess is that she's been a little twisted. But still, that doesn't explain why she would like betray her family and join Bug. But at the same time, it's weird regardless, because she's from one of the 10 great families joining Thug, who is anti-great families. It's a very weird scenario, and it's weird regardless. Even if she's not a Jihad princess, it doesn't make sense. So I don't really think this is a nail in the coffin either. I just think it's a weird scenario. We don't know what happened. But regardless, I'm curious how her character is going to bring about drama and conflict, especially with Wangnan, who witnessed Arkraptor's death, and he's the one that Arkraptor died to save. Other characters like Kun, I mean, Kun obviously hates Michael and Apple, and she's traveling with them for some reason, so there's a lot of mystery going on with these characters. I want to see how that gets resolved, maybe during the Princess arc, which we know is coming up eventually, where we're gonna see Lilial and Shilul again, we're gonna see Endorsi and Anak, I'm sure, and maybe even Maria. I think this would be a great place to also introduce Aria Rose Jihad as Arkraptor's daughter. I think that'd be awesome. But anyway, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do leave a like if you want to see more theory videos. I don't make a lot of them, but I want to make more of them going forward. And if you have some theories, let me know in the comments down below. I've seen some fantastic theories from you guys, so I'd love to see them and maybe make a video about them. Subscribe for more TOG content and other forms of daily content. Huge thank you to the patrons as usual, particularly Big Juice, Brook Meade, Syed Masood, TechCrazy80, and Wardast, who are the sponsors of the channel Kings of the Tower. Thank you guys so much. Your support means the world. And with that, I'll see you guys in my next Tower of God theory video. Take care.